Halftime show. I think I got the name of the show right this time, Ed. Let's see. We started off with the extra point, rolled into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour now. Halftime show here on the game. Yeah, so far. So I haven't screwed up. Now, this one should be easy because this is the last one, and then I'm done. And then Elijah's coming back in here to roll, the post-game show since Jay's off at graduation. So it was an interesting day. We had 4 people out today. Not that the listener goes, oh, I feel so sorry for you guys, because you shouldn't, because we talk about sports for a living. Nobody here is tarring a roof. But we had 4 people out today. So we had to do some radio gymnastics to get through this one. Elijah started off filling in for Bill with Preston and Jen. I jumped in here and, try to keep the station on the air from 9 to 3. And then Elijah will finish it back up with his normal deal, the post-game show. And, of course, Ed Bird's grinding 6 hours today. My man. He's only fallen asleep twice. I have that effect on everybody. It's okay, Ed. It's all right. All right, so as we get the halftime show rolling here on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, thank you no matter where you are at on our network. We appreciate you listening. It's a weird series tonight. It's a series that you should win. It's not like must win or your season's over, but it's a series you need to win. In Columbia, Missouri, taking on a bad baseball team. If you look at their record, Missouri's not good. It's the second worst record in the SEC behind Auburn. Missouri, worst offensive team in the SEC. Pitching below average. Tonight, they're going to start a dude in Logan Lunsford who has an ERA of over 7. There was a guy that pitched on my slow pitch softball team my last year playing slow pitch softball, had a better ERA than Logan Lunsford. Everything about Missouri screams they're not very good. But kooky stuff happens in Columbia, Missouri. We hear about it all the time. 2, Missouri, since their sweep of Florida in Como, Missouri has lost 7 of their last 9 SEC games, but 4 of those 7 losses by 1 run. They're in games. Despite their bad record, despite their struggles, despite their awful offense, they find a way to hang in games, which is a tribute to a brand new head coach and a team that, despite things have gone sideways, Carrick Jackson and his crew have competed and grinded in every game. Just talent-wise, they're not there. So it's not a series, let's just go throw our jock straps on the field and win 3, and then we'll hit that pizza place that's supposed to be pretty good, and then we'll get out of town. This will be a grind. Even if you win 2 out of 3 or sweep or whatever, Missouri is going to grind you. They're just not very good on offense. And with the idea that you're playing well, your lineup has been cooking at the plate. Defensively, even though you have an offensive lineup right now, defensively you've been holding your own. Your pitching, your weekend rotation seems to be settling down with an opener in Roman Kimball, followed typically by Ty Good. Then you roll with Eli Jones. And it's been, even though it's TBA, the TBA dude has been Dylan Eskew, who's been fabulous the last 2 weekends. You feel like you're settling in as a baseball team. The bullpen roles, for the most part, are defined. You just feel like you're in a good place. East Tennessee State, RPI-wise, and Wes brought this up, is better than Missouri. And you smacked East Tennessee State. You won 2 out of 3 over Kentucky, the number 3 team in the country, last weekend. But those games are in the friendly confines of Founders. Now you're on the road. Missouri has a winning record at home. Again, some of that's midweek stuff and everything else. But again, it's a team, no, they're not good. But you have to take them seriously. And for no other reason, the big picture. Right now, and these are just projections, D1 Baseball has South Carolina as their number 10 team hosting the Columbia Regional. Baseball America has the Gamecocks as a number 12 team in the country hosting the Columbia Regional. You don't want to do anything to screw that up or give anybody a door that you crack open to have it get screwed up. You handle your business in Columbia, Missouri. Let's say you win 2 out of 3. If you could find a way to go 5-4, even 4-5 down the stretch of 9 games, you should hold yourself to where you're going to be hosting. Now, obviously, you want to do better than that, but using that for the floor, to me, that's where you need to be at the floor. The ceiling could be whatever, but the floor would be a 5-4, 4-5 roll in those 9 SEC games. Plus, you have 1 midweek left, and that's on the road, so to speak. So that's where this team is at. You want to go. It's a business trip. You hear that all the time in professional sports. This is a business trip. This one's a business trip. Go in, get focused, win this series, and then you face 2 top 10 RPI teams in Georgia and Tennessee in the SEC. And again, Logan Lunsford has not had a good season. The Missouri starter tonight, the righty. So hopefully you can post a W tonight, weather permitting, and then you just got to split over the weekend. Javen Pimnatel, a Saturday starter, seems like the best Missouri starter. 3.64 ERA, a strikeout an inning. His walks are down. That was one of his problems early in his career at Arizona, is he got a little wild. But if you can win tonight, then all you got to do is find a way to split on the weekend. You knock off 2 out of 3, and then you move forward. So we shall see what happens. Again, 6:45 pregame here on the Game in Columbia and Myrtle Beach. 7 o'clock first pitch. Chance of rain all 3 days in Columbia, Missouri, over 50%. So we'll see. Do we have to do the weather dance this weekend? We'll find out. But it's just a series that you should win and you really need to win. Just to continue to lock yourself in the spot you're already in. It would be great if you could improve your standing, like I said. Go on a roll in these last 10 games. But SEC-wise, if you can just keep your head above water in these last 3 series, 2 of the 3 on the road, that should keep you almost right where the projections have you right now. And it wouldn't be any worse. Because you want to host. And if you look at the projections, we went over these first hour of the Extra Point in the 9 o'clock hour. But D1 baseball right now has the Gamecocks hosting the Columbia region, obviously, with Coastal Carolina as the 2 seed, Georgia Tech the 3 seed, South Carolina Upstate the 4 seed. That's pretty good because no other team is top 20 RPI but South Carolina. Coastal Carolina, Warren Nolan's RPI has Coastal at 22. Baseball America also has the Gamecocks hosting. Wake Forest is the 2 seed. The number 3 seed is College of Charleston. Samford will be number 4. That was a little tougher. It was a little bad. Because Wake is a top 15 RPI. Georgia Tech, I think, was 53 RPI when I looked. Charleston's, I think, a tick lower than Georgia Tech. And then, obviously, USC, Upstate, and Samford round out the regions. But you at least want to be where you're projected right now. And hopefully better. We'll see. So that's kind of the latest in that regard. One of the things that's helped South Carolina, obviously, is playing 24 quad 1 games, if you're looking at the RPI breakdown. You're 12-12 in those games. And just to talk about that quad 1 record. First of all, no one's played 24 quad 1 games with South Carolina. If my memory serves me, I'm going to double check. No one other team, that's Alabama. They're 10-14 in quad 1. South Carolina's 12-12. South Carolina has the second toughest schedule in the SEC behind Florida, 4th toughest schedule in the country. Those 24 quad 1 games, being 12-12, you're kind of right in the sweet spot. Because if you look at quad 1 records, and these teams, again, have not played as many quad 1 games as South Carolina, Kentucky is 14-4 in quad 1 games. 2 of those losses to South Carolina. Texas A&M's 13-6 in quad 1. Clemson 10-2 in quad 1. Besides that, almost everyone who's got any amount of quad 1 games is around 500, maybe a couple of games above, a couple of games below. But they're all in that kind of sphere when it comes to their quad 1 record. So South Carolina 12-12 is right kind of in the big jumble of most teams who are good in their quad 1 record. We talked about this earlier. East Carolina, they're 4-1. They only played 5 quad 1 games. But most of these teams who have played a bunch of them are right around 500, a little bit above, a little bit below. Like, for example, Duke's played 19 quad one games, or 10-9. That's kind of what you're looking at here. And if I'm sitting here staring at the top 20 in RPI, once you get past Clemson and Kentucky and Texas A&M, Arkansas is 2 games above. They played 14 quad one, they're 8-6. Tennessee's played 14 quad one, they're 8-6. Duke is 10-9, like I said. But that's really it of teams who have played like over 10 quad one contests. Most of them, again, 500, a little bit below, like Georgia 7-9. North Carolina 6-8. Florida State 6-6. You get where I'm going here. So all that quad one stuff, yeah, when you look at a 12-12 quad one record, you go, But that's solid, is what I'm trying to say. So again, we'll see starting tonight, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch. Weather permitting, we will have South Carolina taking on Missouri in Columbia, Missouri. The game tonight doesn't start till later on, but right now, or when the first time you get a chance, go to 1075thegame.com, register for the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. You're like, why, Ter? Why should I do that? I'll give you 1,100 reasons. That's how much money's in the pot. No Grand Slam so far this year by a Gamecock hitter. This sucker's gone up $25 every game. We're now up to $1,100. And if you add it up, okay, 3, 6, 9, 10. This thing, it could be a pretty decent amount of money if this continues. But right now, $1,100 in the pot. You go to 1075thegame.com, look at that little flippy media reel thing, and once it flips over to the contest, you click, fill out the form, pop submit, and you're in. You can't win, obviously, if you don't register. If you do register and a Gamecock player hits a Grand Slam, then the first weekday after the Grand Slam, the early game at 7:30 will snag a name out of a hat, and if it's you, you win $1,100. Very easy, very simple. It is the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway right here from the game. We'll get back here on the other side. Shane Beamer was on ESPN recently talking about NIL and balancing running a football program in the crazy world of transfer portals and NILs, and we'll get Shane's thoughts as he talked to the folks at ESPN, and then we'll kind of riff on that and take a look at what the NCAA is going to have to pay to stay out of court and not pay billions. That's coming up next. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Ed Bird here. Austin has showed up. We got people learning how to punch buttons all over the place. Ed, just let Austin hit a random button and see if it blows anything up later. We're here till 3 on the game. Halftime show sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina here on The Game. Terry Ford, Ed Bird, Austin's in the other room learning. Michael from Integrated Media is reworking the camera cables. He brought me, it's so funny, he brought me another cable. He said, for when you guys break it the next time, here's an extra cable. We're radio people, Ed. We can't do anything but radio. We might be the least versatile group of human beings in the world. This is just, if we weren't doing radio, what would we be doing? Drinking a lot. We do that, we do radio. It's one of the best parts of radio. But we never do that before we went on the air. That'd be wrong. I used to do that when the old days of doing morning shows and music radio before I went into sports talk. We used to do the, drunk driving awareness week. You bring in the state trooper or the police, and you sit there and you drink. They do your breathalyzer every half hour. Wow, did I get faced doing that? Thank God we had dump buttons. That was ugly. Yeah. One year it got a little sideways. This guy that raced locally at the local racetrack brought his girlfriend in, and she was cute. The higher the breathalyzer went, the more I talked to her, and the less I talked to him. That was just an ugly show. That was an ugly, ugly show, Ed Bird. Yeah. After all, no, I'm going to stop there now. I'm going to stop there right now. I was going to keep moving forward talking sports. All right, Shane Beamer recently talking to Marty and McGee on ESPN about, everything changes every minute in the space of college football now with all the NCAA in court, NIL, who's negotiating this? What's the NCAA going to do about that? What antitrust laws have they broken today? Well, Ed Bird here, we're going to get ready. It's going to be cut 8 from Shane. Shane Beamer was on with Marty and McGee kind of talking about how do you balance the NIL world, the transfer portal world, and try to run a successful program in college football these days? Hit it.
For us, it starts in recruiting, making sure we're doing our best to bring in, obviously, great players, but great people, guys that want to be at South Carolina for the right reasons, that understand what this place can do for them on and off the field, football-wise, academically, life after football, and guys that want to be a part of this. And, I want to be able to reward guys and take care of guys that have earned it. And we just try and be honest 365 days a year. I don't want it to get to this week when the portal's open and all of a sudden we're having conversations about where they stand and how we feel about them and how they feel about us. To me, those are things that we do every day throughout the year when we're around our guys. And we want to make this a program that guys want to be a part of. And, to me, you can't put a price tag on the college experience and the locker room and the degree that you can earn and winning football games and playing in the SEC and things like that, So we try and treat people the right way, be honest with them, make them want to be a part of this program. And if somebody feels like he'd be in a better situation somewhere else, then have those conversations, and they're open and honest conversations. And then if they decide to leave, we wish them well, and it gives us the opportunity to try and get somebody else in here that can continue to move this program forward.
I mean, head coaches, they've been flipped upside down on their head. Because before NIL and unlimited transfers and all this other stuff, coaches ran the show, right? I mean, they were like Fidel Castro. They ran the show. It was their world, man, and you went by their rules. And they had the ultimate control because a lot of coaches are the ultimate control freaks, right? So now they don't have a whole lot of control anymore. Players can walk in and go, kick rocks, bro. I'm out. And there's nothing they can do about it. But go get another kid to replace him, and hopefully that kid's better, or your next man up's going to be as good or better. That's kind of where you're at. So now, instead of being Fidel Castro, you're a whole different guy. You're a schmoozer almost with your players. You got to recruit your players all the time, plus go recruit other players. And I think the way Shane described it is the direction you have to take almost. Go, look, we're going to make this the best atmosphere possible for you to thrive in and develop and grow. We're going to work hard. We're going to be competitive. We're going to make you accountable. We also want to make you happy and have fun. That's about all we can do is do the best we can to make you want to be here. And if you want to go, we get it. We just got to go find a way to bring in somebody else who could be as good or better than you at the end of the day. That's it. Because, look, we could talk about all the advantages that 99% of these players should be focusing on, even though they don't, and that's that education at the end of it, that degree. But you're not looking at that. You're looking at, I'm going to play in college and get to the league and be a pro, which I'd be doing the same thing, by the way. And coaches still talk about the education, but no coach, I think we've talked about this, you're never, ever going to hear this from an athletic director. We just gave our coach a 5-year contract, like Kirby, let's use Kirby Smart. No athletic, the folks at Georgia aren't going to get up in a press conference and go, we just gave Kirby Smart a 10-year contract for $13 million a year because he graduates all of his kids. God, Kirby graduates all the kids. The GPA on this team is fantastic. No. Kirby's getting $13 million a year because Georgia football, with Nick Saban leaving right now, and we'll see what Kalen DeBoer does, but it feels like Georgia's the best program in college football. And even with Nick there, I mean, Georgia was on the cusp of maybe winning 3 straight, something that hadn't been done since, Minnesota back in the 1930s. Yeah, before cable. So we don't know if it really happened. But winning is what matters. And now to get those W's and to be successful year in and year out on the level that we as fans and the universities and the big money boosters and the alum expect, this thing has totally changed. I mean, Saban, basically, you've read the reports. And Nick was, he was frustrated with the fact these kids just care about NIL. And what are they getting? And how much they're going to make? And, what's in it for them? Again, that's not Nick's model. That's not what he grew up on. Remember, he learned the knee of Bill Belichick. So Nick was like, I can't do this. And we saw it in college basketball with the transfer portal. Mike Krzyzewski, Jim Boeheim, guys like that going, this is not what I signed up for. I'm out. Roy Williams. It's a different vibe. And you have to learn how to now readjust. And the best coaches are going to learn how to readjust on the fly and how to figure out a crazy world. Because, again, all fans care about are W's. All the other stuff is all the other stuff. So the good stuff there from Shane Beamer on Marty and McGee. And this will lead us into our other conversation about the NCAA and how much money they might have to pay to settle this House versus the NCAA lawsuit. We'll get to that next. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Ed Bird's here. We're rolling up until 3 on the game. What we're talking about on the halftime show on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. We just had Shane Beamer talking about how he balances, this NIL transfer portal world with, putting together a winning program or building a winning program, a consistently winning program at South Carolina. Was on Marty and McGee recently, and we just kind of discussing how, if you're a coach, you got to evolve. Just like fans, we talk about their fans who, they hate this, man. And I get it. It's just, first of all, nobody likes change. There's a small percentage of people who love it, but most folks in this world hate change. We like consistency. Keeps us warm at night. We cuddle to it. We don't like change. Jumbles our world, shakes us up. Change stinks, especially stuff we look at in a traditional sense, right? Because that's what we look at with college football, college basketball, and in the pros, really Major League Baseball, and then second hockey. Those are sports that are grounded in certain traditions. Baseball has the dopey unwritten rules, but they're seeped in tradition. Hockey has some of those too. We just don't talk about hockey as much. And in college football and college basketball, just living in the pool of tradition. So when you start changing things that we look at from that traditional lens, that makes us even crazier. Because A, we don't like change. B, don't be screwing with our traditions. And that's what's happened in the world of college football. And a lot of the older school fans of the sport have lost their mind because this stuff is crazy. It's like, wait a minute. These guys get paid, they get scholarships. True, to a point. And I know the value of a scholarship. I got my daughter's a sophomore at University of Colorado. Trust me, my bank account knows the value of a scholarship. Believe me. And my son's a junior in high school right now. He's getting ready to roll off to college in a couple of years. So I said, stay in state. It's cheaper, kid. But it's just the idea that I get the value of that scholarship. You're not selling me on, like for an example, University of Colorado, if you're an out-of-state student, my daughter is from Maryland, $54,000 a year, man. That's what it would be if you don't get any kind of scholarships or, financial aid or whatever. You're looking at $54,000 out of state to go to University of Colorado. Now, you get some love, obviously, or she wouldn't be going. So I get what a scholarship means. And a lot of parents who have their kids in school get it, and kids who are in school understand it. But I always say this, you got to look at the 5-star or high 4-star player who looks at going to college sort of like the rest area on the trip to the NFL or the NBA. They don't understand the value of that scholarship. They're saying, yeah, dude, I'm going there, let the pros see my game, then I'm going to roll off to the league. Class, bleh. Cardell Jones, I didn't come to college to major in class. I majored in football. A lot of those players on that level think the same way. So to get them to understand the value of a scholarship, they go, whatever, man. But once they leave college, and let's say their professional dreams don't come true the way they were hoping they would, some of them do circle back and finish up that degree because now they understand the value of that scholarship because A, their pro dreams didn't work out the way they were hoping, and B, now they realize, that scholarship, that had more value than I cared about. But once you get into these players, rightfully so, by the way, look at it like this. Wait a minute. 85,000 people aren't packing this stadium to look at the coach who's making millions or the AD who's making about $1 million. They're here to watch me. So where's my money? All you guys are making bank. Where's my bag? Because, again, high-level high school recruits in football or basketball have been getting stuff for years because they're really good. So they're like, well, why should it stop in college? Well, NCAA rules say it should stop. Screw that. I don't care. That's not right. How come you can make money off of me and I can't make money off of me? I'm 19 years old. I'm 18 years old. I'm technically an adult. Well, the Supreme Court agreed. And there you go. And so this is never coming back. This is the world now moving forward. And the NCAA, to save themselves, it's reached this point now, and you've probably heard of House versus the NCAA. We've talked about it here. It is a landmark lawsuit, basically saying that every collegiate athlete that participated in sports in college who did not get the opportunity to use name, image, and likeness is going to get paid in some way, shape, or form. The NCAA would be spending billions of dollars. $4 billion is the low figure, probably higher, 5, 6, whatever. So the NCAA, and they've been told you're going to go to court and do what you always do, lose. And then you're done. Because the NCAA, they're not walking around with $7, $8 billion in their bank account. So they're done. So to avoid being done, the NCAA is negotiating a settlement in this lawsuit, and it feels like it's going to be around $2.7 billion or more to settle. That's how big this lawsuit is. The NCAA would Venmo $2.7 billion at the very least. I know you can't Venmo that much. So think about that. When you are going to settle and pay $3 billion to avoid the bigger number, just run through your head what the bigger number could be. It's craziness. Sources told ESPN this week that the parties involved have proposed the NCAA to the NCAA national office rather than to its individual member schools or conferences would pay for the settlement of past damages over a period of 10 years. The NCAA payments would be paid to former college athletes who say they were illegally prevented from making money by selling their name, image, and likeness. It's very simple. Now, also, part of this settlement would be the revenue sharing plan that would start to be built involving players sharing in the revenue with the schools, conferences, blah, 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 which, again, would be the model to finally put rules and regulations back into the crazy wild, wild west we have that is collegiate athletics in the NCAA world in 2024. So all that's coming, which, again, if you hate change and you're a traditionalist, your head just exploded. And there's pieces of your head laying all over the room or your car. There needs to be a settlement, and it's going to be a bargained agreement between players, universities, NCAA, whoever, all the powers that be in the world of collegiate athletics have to come to an agreement, has to be signed, notified, made a legal document. It's going to be probably a 4 or 5 year deal, and then they'll renegotiate it again at the end of that. It's going to have to happen. That sets up rules and regulations agreed upon by all parties, which will then keep the NCAA out of court. Because once you have this agreement, you agree to these binding rules, just like unions and ownership in professional sports. I don't think it's going to be called a union. It'll probably be called something else, but that's where this is going, and then you'll have rules. And this thing will stop being the wild, wild west. But there are schools that like this. You know, the upper level schools, all the NIL money and all the transfers want to come play for them. They don't want rules and regulations. They like the wild, wild west. They're that gunslinger who wins all the gunfights outside the saloon in the middle of town. That's who some of those schools are. They go, well, we got tons of NIL money. Transfer portal is good to us. Our programs are fine. We don't need no stinking rules. I mean, Ole Miss, they like it the way it is. They probably wouldn't want rules and regulations. Their NIL is killing it. I mean, look at the football team bringing in transfers. Ole Miss football, averaging double-digit victories over the last 3 years. They probably like everything just the way it is. But this is all heading down the road of revenue sharing, a collectively bargained agreement, and then rules will be in place that once again makes sense. That you're not going to really be going to court to fight because you can't, because everyone agreed to a document that has been signed and notified as legal. That's where it's going. And the NCAA is willing to sign a check for at least $2.7 billion, if not more, to stay out of court and settle this lawsuit with House versus the NCAA. That will be the first step in the process of the true evolution of where we're going with college athletics. All right, so let's say you want to listen to the game and you are not in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. You're not anywhere in the Midlands or roughly half the state where you can hear us. It's easy. All you got to do, download the 107.5 The Game app. You Google Play, iTunes, take you a couple seconds. You download the app onto your phone or device. Boom. You can listen to the game anywhere. Very simple, very easy. You got your phone, cell phone towers everywhere. You can be any state pretty much. You got cell service. You can listen to the game. Again, 1075thegame.com, the app, or 107.com. 1075 The Game, the app, Google Play, iTunes. Download it, listen anywhere. We will come back, big baseball series with Missouri. We'll reset what's coming up this weekend for Gamecock baseball. Next is the halftime show. Terry Ford, glad you can be hanging out. Ed Bird's here. Also a Firehouse subtext of the hour, 803-404-6100. That's coming up on The Game. All right, time for our Firehouse Sub text of the hour at 803-404-6100 on our text line. Unnamed texter, yes, this is the way of the world, and we can't go back to the old days of college football, but now that college football is a business and players will basically be professionals, when do you think that old school college football fans will tune out and college football's viewership numbers and interest will go down? I'm not saying you're wrong and it couldn't happen, but right now it's not happening. College football has the off the field stuff's been nuts the last couple of years, and college football ratings are fantastic. So this off the field craziness is not affecting people watching college football. And even college basketball, the NCAA tournament numbers were up. I just really believe that, look, we as fans, at the end of the day, love sports for the games. Yes, we love the soap opera stuff. We love the rumors and the drama and all that stuff. But deep down inside, we like to watch games. That's who we are. The bigger the game, obviously, the more people watch. And I just think we block out all the noise. It takes a lot for a game, its off-the-field ridiculousness, to affect its viewership or its fan base to turn its back on the game. I mean, the NHL missed a season, a whole season. They didn't lose their fans. The closest one to it is baseball. Because, again, very deep-rooted traditional sport, and fans hate change. And fans kind of look at baseball with a different set of rules than they do like basketball or football. And baseball, with the strike in 93, really damaged themselves with the old school, diehard, traditional baseball fans. Players look greedy, owners look greedy, everybody look greedy. Only group of people that got screwed over were the fans. There were fans that had a real tough time going back to the game. And there were some old school fans that didn't go back to baseball games. Wasn't a big percentage, but there were some. But usually what you do off the field as a sport very rarely affects your viewing numbers because, again, fans just like games. Even baseball. The steroid era and Cal Ripken's streak and the home run chase with McGuire and Sosa, that got baseball fans back. Everybody forgot about the strike because now we got a home run race. We got a guy break Lou Gehrig's iconic games played record. You know, we've got all these runs being scored. Chicks dig the long ball. The steroid era was good for baseball. TV ratings, butts in the seats. Make no mistake. Baseball didn't stop steroids. The government stopped steroids. Hell, baseball was going, really? You got to do this? Well, things are going good for us. So that really brought interest back to the game after the strike had cratered the interest. But very rarely does that happen. I mean, football, we had the kneeling stuff that went for a while, but if football's ratings are back to record setting, the NBA, despite all the stuff that goes on now with load management and mercenary superstars and all these other things, the NBA hasn't lost a ton of ratings. Matter of fact, all across the board, live local sports, ratings in all the sports are up. NBA ratings are up a tick. NFL ratings are up. Major League Baseball to start the year, ratings are up. NCAA tournament for the men, obviously the Caitlin Clark Invitational for the women. Live sports, all of it, the ratings have taken a spike in the upward direction. So to go back to the original text, I don't think all of this is going to hurt the viewership or the interest or the attendance of college football. I don't. Because at the end of the day, everybody can push all this mess aside, go tailgate off to the stadium or sit and watch their big screen and enjoy the game. So that's my opinion, my thought. All right, baseball tonight here on the Game in Columbia and Myrtle Beach. South Carolina, Missouri in Como. We talked about it on and off ever since we started yipping at 9 o'clock this morning. You got to go win 2 out of 3. I mean, it's not do or die. It's not must win. because you're still in good shape, obviously, for all of your goals, but you need to win because you want to put yourself in the best position to achieve your goals. You want to host. In a perfect world, you'd like to be able to not just host a regional, but host a super. Because, again, the goal at South Carolina is get your butt to Omaha. This team right now projected to host. They're looked by D1 Baseball as the number 10 team in the country. Baseball America has them number 12. They're number 10 in RPI. You just don't want to fall backwards. You don't want to go tumbling. You don't want to lose 2 out of 3 at Missouri. You want to win that series, and then you got 6 with Georgia and Tennessee, plus a midweek. You just want to, at worst, stay where you're at now, and at best, improve your seeding. So all that is where we're going. So that's the situation for South Carolina. Game 1, Roman Kimball will take the ball as the opener. Ty Good will probably come in as your long relief guy. Logan Lunsford starts from Missouri with a 7.04 ERA, 74 base runners in 47 and a third innings. That's where it's at. Logan Lunsford has struggled. You have the pitching advantage. The Missouri offense is bad. Get game 1. Wes said it earlier. Grab game 1, then all you got to do is split over the weekend, and you walk out of Columbia, Missouri winning the series. All right, we will come back. 1 o'clock hours, football, and more football. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the Halftime Show. We'll get some Demetrius Knight cuts in if you missed him on Garnet Trust yesterday. All that's coming up in our 1 o'clock hour here on the Halftime Show on the Game. Halftime show. Terry Ford, glad you could be hanging, whether you're in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, wherever. We appreciate you spending some time with us. Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Ed Bird's here punching buttons and keeping us from getting fined by the FCC. Austin's in there training. We got tons of people around here today. And it's time to talk some NFL with our good buddy Jason Lockenfora, Odyssey NFL insider, writer for the Washington Post, sports talk show host in Baltimore. What else you doing now? I've lost track of all the stuff you're doing, bub.
Handicapping games, football, baseball, and basketball for Sportsline.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know. I did not know you had that skill set. Look at you.
It's developed. It's muscle memory, like anything else. The more you put into it, Terry, the more you get out of it.
So you can start giving me
At least when you lose, it's more justified, like because you've put in some research, so you can at least. It's like math, right? If you show your work, maybe you get partial credit, even if the answer's wrong. At least that's how I look at it.
And you can look at the wife and say, "Honey, I've got to gamble. It's my job."
That's part of the gig.
Right? I'm sure that goes over big with Mrs. Jason Lockenfora.
No, when the credit card bill comes in, it never that's never what the principal wants to hear. That never quite flies. It never keeps me out of detention.
Hey, bud, the NFL draft obviously wrapped up, and this was so weird for me. Because, again, like you, growing up in Baltimore and for years laughing at the futility of the Washington football team and their bumbling owner, Daniel Snyder. And no one has better stories about Daniel Snyder than you because you covered the Washington football team for years for the Washington Post. Watching the Washington football team logically draft in some ways and making some really good value picks through the draft and doing some things that actually make sense – it kind of was like, is that the sign of the apocalypse? That the Washington is doing some things that make sense.
Well, and again, I don't know how it's all going to work out, and different people have different opinions when I talk to sort of the evaluators that I'm kind of closest with, and I kind of take their temperature on things. Like they have a football operations department now that has sort of a singular philosophy, and the old one, it really didn't matter because Ron Rivera had final say, and Ron Rivera's a great guy. Ron Rivera shouldn't be picking football players for anybody.
Right.
Like he it's just the idea that personnel went through Ron Rivera was backwards, and I said as much when he was brought in that that part of it had no chance of working. Ron Rivera, I know he was Riverboat Ron for a moment there, but he's a defensive-minded, risk-averse NFL head coach who lives in the moment. And you're also going to let him tend to your roster for players whose development over the next 5 years is paramount, not just, who can help me win the next football game. So they're clearly in a better place. There seemed to be a heavy analytics bent to their selections. At least that's the feedback I got. And, I think analytics is something that was a big part of the 49ers, and that's where the GM, Adam Peters, came from. So that makes sense. They've got an owner who isn't a reprehensible human being / multiple accused times criminal. There was really nowhere to go but up.
Yes.
Again, I don't know how much all of this is going to work. I'm glad they didn't overthink the Jalen Daniels thing. Give that a chance. But I still have look. Let's be real though. Nobody thought, including Dan Quinn, that that's where he was going to end up. Nobody thought, including Cliff Kingsbury, that he was going to be back in the NFL so soon and then have another top 2 pick to potentially destroy.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's still some caveats there. But, yes, if you're a Commanders fan, you now have the right to think positive thoughts and at least remain somewhat hopeful and optimistic about your franchise moving forward, which that's a low bar to clear, but they hadn't cleared it in 20 years.
The Cliff
since Gibbs got there.
Exactly.
How long ago was that?
Oh, I've lost track.
It's probably 20 years. Yeah,
probably.
That's got to be 20 years.
The Cliff Kingsbury thing always fascinates me. Is this if you're just really a super good-looking dude who wears super cool shades and super cool shoes, that you can basically fake your way through and make a lot of money in life?
I mean, what he ran in Arizona was a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
it was, you talk to people who worked in that division, guys on the defensive staffs of other teams in the NFC West, guys who did advanced scouting for teams in the NFC West, and it's just a joke. I mean, it's a scramble drill. It's a, hang around in the game and then hope, Kyler does something in the fourth quarter off script that helps us win. Like, it really, and there were no adjustments made, and there was no accountability, and that relationship between coach and quarterback deteriorated pretty quickly. Now, they both made a fortune out of it. Both got more contracts than they should have there. I just think there's a lot of buyer beware there. Like, the scheme has not really shown, I'm not sure an air raid offense is going to work up here. I'm not sure he learned too many lessons from the last time out because, to your point, he just keeps landing on his feet and just keeps making more money. And now he's got another super athletic quarterback to mess around with. So I'll say this. Jalen Daniels will outlast Cliff Kingsbury in Washington. I feel pretty confident.
You know what? I'll wager that with you. Absolutely. Our buddy Jason Lockenfora with us, Odyssey NFL Insider, Washington Post writer and columnist, also a sports talk show host at 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore, and also now Sportsline. Is that who you're also doing the stuff for?
I've been there 2 years. Yeah,
have you been there 2 years?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, since the start of since before the 2022 football season. So,
nice.
Yeah, it'll be 2 years and a couple months.
Man, I suck. I should know that. I'm awful. You're not. That's where you disagree with me. That's where you say, Terry, you don't suck.
No, you don't. I'm just saying, like, unless you're dabbling pretty heavily in some of this stuff, you might not be inclined.
Right. Hey, Dad, why is your car up on that tow truck? Well, Daddy kind of spent some money. We'll do a little wagering. Anyway.
Yeah. Let me tell you about the term repo man, son. And then we're going to watch a great movie.
That's right. With Harry Dean Stanton. Hey,
yeah.
All right, so the draft. Obviously, the most polarizing pick was Michael Penix Jr. Most people think that was a crazy pick or a stupid pick. Some people go, no, give that pick a chance. No, it's not as dumb as you think. Where is Jason Lockenfora on the Michael Penix Jr. selection by the Atlanta Falcons?
I mean, look, if you want to look at it in a vacuum, they might have finally found a long-term solution at quarterback because Kirk Cousins coming off Achilles at age 36 or whatever is not a long-term solution. And the structure of the contract points to as much. I mean, it was essentially a 2-year deal. So, if you just want to look at it through that prism, you can tell yourself, hey, the Falcons did something smart. Now, if you take one step back, take your eye out of that telescope, and now we've got a bigger telescope that shows not just that planet, but the entire solar system, and you're like, what the F have they done? Wait a minute. Just 6 weeks ago, they told this other guy, you're it for us the next couple of years. We want to win right now. And here's $100 million to come be our quarterback. And then you've also got the GM saying, well, this kid might sit for 4 or 5 years. Like, come on. He's 24. He's not 20. He's not 19. I mean, no. So they have systematically botched the quarterback position since paying Matt Ryan at least one too many contracts, and probably two extensions too many. They should have made cold, hard, calculated decisions on him sooner and parted ways rather than giving him, the second to last extension. So you can't trust them, nor should you. But the idea that this was somehow the GM going rogue is nuts. I mean, I wrote about this in the Washington Post. I said in my mock draft, if they don't take the best defensive player on the board, who's going to be Latu, the owner loves Michael Penix, and the owner wants Michael Penix. So they just might draft Michael Penix. And they did. I mean, not because the GM tricked him. No, that's how you get fired on the spot. Because the owner was into it, and it's the owner's money. So if he doesn't care, we've had no quarterback for 10 years. Let's try two. That might work. You could always trade Kirk Cousins to his buddy Kyle Shanahan next year, which look out for that one. Especially if they don't think Purdy's worth $55 or $60 million. And watch, when Tua gets his deal and Lawrence gets his deal and Dak gets another deal, if you're representing Brock Purdy, you're absolutely saying, oh, I'm worth way more than those guys. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but imagine what they could have done with that $100 million or spent wisely to build around Michael Penix. There's a reason we've never seen this before.
Jason Lockenfor hanging out with us, talking some NFL here on the halftime show on the game. All right, so obviously everybody always talks about the Dallas Cowboys because that's who everybody talks about because they're the most polarizing team in the NFL, obviously in America. Jerry Jones does the, first of all, having a radio show, every other owner has one too because it works so well. Jerry's like, we're all in. We're all in. Then you sign Ezekiel Elliott and your fan base goes nuts saying, well, you're all in and you do that. Or, everybody picks apart every selection the Cowboys make.
Context, Barry. He's all in on making money. He's not going to say the quiet part out loud, but just look at what he did.
Yeah.
He brought a broken down guy back, and then they came up with the plot to change the number. So everybody who had the old Zeke Elliott jerseys, well, don't you want to get with the cool kids and get the new version with the new number? Like, don't you need two? Don't you need two Zeke Elliott jerseys? Come on now, Jerry's got bills to pay. He's got mouths to feed. I don't know. He probably has a big farm. I'm picturing him like a big farm. Those animals got to eat. Come on, everybody, buckle up. He wants to maximize profits. Do your part. Help that billionaire weirdo out and buy another jersey.
I'm picturing Jerry in his overalls up on the tractor, little straw in his mouth. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Jeez.
Hey, those tractors, they don't start themselves.
Hey, it needs gas.
Gotta have gas in the
That's
tank.
right.
Come on. Help Jerry out.
Hey,
NFL players, we're going to 18 games. The billionaires need more money.
No, but Jason, they care about player safety.
Oh, yeah. Sure. They're all about it.
Yes, they are, sir. Man, I could hang out and do this with you for hours. I always appreciate you, brother. Always do.
My pleasure.
I know you got a show to go do, so
I do.
We warmed you up a little bit. We got you in the bullpen, got you warmed up, and you're ready to go.
Yep.
All right, my friend. We'll bug you again down the road sometime soon. I appreciate it. See you, boss.
Bye-bye.
That's our buddy Jason Lockenfor, Odyssey NFL Insider, a writer for the Washington Post, obviously doing work for Sportsline, also hosts a show afternoons on 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. All right, we'll come back. More football in the 1 o'clock hour. We will spin back. Kirby Smart got paid a ton of money. Was he worth it? Or is he worth more? We'll get into that next. Look at the coaches' salaries around the world of college football. That's next. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Ed Bird, Austin's in there punching buttons too. We roll till 3 on the game. Football in the 1 o'clock hour. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. Terry Ford, glad you could be hanging as we have Ed Bird making sure that we stay on the air. We appreciate Ed like always. All right, Kirby Smart got paid 10 years, $130 million, 13 million a season. Out of that $130 million, reportedly 65 million of it's guaranteed. So Kirby got large bags. There's no doubt. And does he deserve all that kind of money? Your first thought is no. He coaches football. In the grand scheme of things, what does that matter? And true. In your life, in my life, in our life, the list of people who matter, unless your last name is Smart, Kirby Smart's not going to matter. Yeah, if you live in Georgia, you graduated from Georgia, you're a fan of Georgia football, yeah, you root for them, but in your life, he really doesn't make a difference. So yeah, $13 million for a guy that is a football coach, you go, huh? Really? That much money? But if you look at purely how much money Georgia football makes, the revenue generated by Georgia Bulldog football, because of the success now under Kirby, and it was successful under Mark Richt, it's just gone to another level under Kirby. The millions upon millions of dollars brought into that university by Georgia football, you could make a case Kirby Smart's underpaid. Because it's a cash cow, Georgia football. And plus, like Wes and I were talking about in the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, you know, they always say that athletics is the front porch of the university. How many kids have gone to the University of Georgia because they've heard of Georgia Bulldog football the last few years? So yeah, Kirby Smart's getting paid a ton of money, and we could say way too much money to coach football. Yeah. But in the capitalistic world of Georgia football, the company, Kirby might be underpaid compared to all the dough that they bring in. So Kirby Smart, highest paid coach in college football. Now Dabo's second at $11.5 million at Clemson. And yes, Clemson football hasn't gone to the college football playoff the last couple of years, and last season they didn't get double-digit victories. And I know the world's going to come to an end to folks who are Clemson fans, but you know, if you look at the world of college football coaches right now, you know, Dabo with, you know, his resume, second highest paid coach. Yeah, right now. If Clemson is plateaued as a program and they don't get back to the heights that they were at, then maybe you could start to go, okay, he was great before, but, you know, it's what have you done for me lately world, and where is it there, Dabo? And, of course, Dabo has to get on board with today, and he has to evolve and understand that NIL it's here. Transfer portal, it's here. Everybody else is using it around you. The teams that are competing with you are using it. It's working. Look at the Washington Huskies last year. By the way, look at the NFL draft. First pick overall, Caleb Williams. Guess what? Transfer portal. Second pick overall. Guess what? Transfer portal. Michael Penix Jr., the fourth quarterback taken in the first round. Transfer portal. Bo Nix. Transfer portal. Hey, Dabo. Hate to break the news to you, bub. It's here. Got to jump on the train. But Dabo's second. Ryan Day's making like $10 million at Ohio State. Lincoln Riley's making $10 million plus at Southern Cal. Should they be among the highest paid coaches in college football? Neither one has won a national championship. Both have been to the college football playoff. I said this before. Nobody was handed a better gig than Ryan Day. Urban Meyer had that thing running and cooking. And Ryan Day's biggest problem is he can start beating Michigan again. You get fired at Ohio State if you can't beat Michigan. Ask John Cooper. Guy was averaging 10 wins a year, nobody cared. It's like, dude, you can't beat Michigan and you can't win a big bowl game. See you, John. Have a good life. We started your car and we packed it. And Lincoln Riley, I said this earlier when we were talking about this. Lincoln Riley, he's never shown to be a program builder. If Ryan Day was handed the best job, Lincoln Riley was handed the second best job at Oklahoma because Bob Stoops, you know, the cupboard was full there too, man. Lincoln Riley's never shown the ability to build a program. I mean, Southern Cal backslid last year. from their first season under Lincoln Riley. So we'll see. But Lincoln Riley's one of the highest paid coaches in college football. Eli Drinkwitz is top 15 off of one really good year. Got a contract extension. We'll see if he's still 6-6 Eli or if he's really turned the corner with Mizzou. We'll see. Lane Kiffin, he's top 10. And, Ole Miss got a hell of a coach. You want to keep him, you got to keep paying him. Because every year, you know his name's going to be in the coaching carousel? Lane Kiffin. And then every year you have to give him a contract extension. That's the way it works. Brian Kelly, also amongst the highest paid coaches in the top 15. Brian Kelly, to me, deserves it. People don't understand how hard it is to win at Notre Dame. This isn't like the Newt Rockne Notre Dame you see in black and white movies. Or when I was a kid, there was a Notre Dame highlight show every weekend. It was a half an hour. Notre Dame football. Lindsey Nelson, I think, did it. Those days are gone, man. Yeah, Notre Dame's on NBC, but everybody's games are on TV. It's not an advantage anymore. Notre Dame actually cares about academics. Some schools can't spell academics. It's not easy to win. By the way, Notre Dame is in South Bend, Indiana. You ever been to South Bend, Indiana in December? You don't want to be in South Bend, Indiana in December. I've been in South Bend, Indiana in December. A lot of body parts freeze up in South Bend in December. And if you're a 4 or 5-star high school football player, you want to go play in Baton Rouge, you want to play in Tuscaloosa, you want to go hang out in Florida, or you want to go to South Bend, Indiana. What Brian Kelly did there was impressive. Never won a national championship. Whenever he got to the college football playoff or the college football playoff championship game, they got boat raced. But getting Notre Dame to that level was impressive. Nobody's done it since Lou Holtz was there. And look what Brian Kelly did 2 years at LSU. Last year with zero defense, won 10 games. Year before, got the SEC championship game. Dude can coach. Now, again, he comes off as a miserable human being you wouldn't want to be in the same room with, but guy can coach, flat out. He deserves to be among the best paid to me in college football. So we'll see where all that goes moving forward. But right now, Kirby Smart, the $13 million club is open for Kirby, who should be the highest paid coach in college football. Demetrius Knight hung out with us yesterday on the Garnet Trust Hour with Elijah and Wes and Chris. We've been kind of re-racking some of that and playing it through the day. We're going to get back in the next segment. Fire up Demetrius looking back on his pick 6 versus Maryland last year when he was playing at Charlotte, and also his celebration after the touchdown. We'll get into that in the next segment. Don't forget, Carolina baseball, weather permitting, starting tonight, 6:45 pregame against Missouri. Taking the mound for South Carolina will be Roman Kimball. Roman Kimball for the Gamecocks tonight. Facing South Carolina will be Logan Lunsford. Again, that's tonight, 6:45. Our coverage starts, weather permitting, because there's over 50% chance of rain for the next 3 days in Columbia, Missouri. We'll get back in here. Here's some Demetrius Knight. It's football, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the Halftime Show on The Game. We are rolling football on the halftime show here on the game. Terry Ford hanging out. Ed Bird's here also as we get you rolling till 3. Then Elijah will take over post-game show. Jay off today. He'll be back on Monday. I'll be almost back full power on Monday. I think Bill's still out and Chris Clark will be out, but Jay will be back on Monday and Tyler will be back. So just kind of trying to keep the ship above water and away from an iceberg today here on the game. All right, Demetrius Knight on the Garnet Trust Hour yesterday with Elijah and Chris and Wes told a bunch of good stories, had some interesting thoughts about a myriad of topics. Here's Demetrius Knight, though. Looking back last year, Knight had a pick 6 when he played for Charlotte against the Maryland Terrapins and Talea Tungavailoa. First of all, here is Cut 14, Ed Bird. Here's Demetrius Knight looking back on that interception return for a touchdown versus Maryland.
It goes back to preparation, and I remember the pick 6 was at Maryland, and you know when you play against a great quarterback like Tua's brother, Tualia, you got a game plan for everything, and you know I realized in the only 2 games that they had played so far that they like to get him going because they like to let him break records over there in Maryland, so easy way to get a quarterback warmed up as, experience is to start him with quick game. So,
it's layups.
That's it. That's right. I saw the running back over in the boundary, and I'm like, they're probably going to throw a hitch. And I saw all week, they start a game by starting empty and throwing the hits to the boundary, get him warmed up. And as soon as he snapped the ball, I ran to the right, and I'm like, man, I guess right on this one. And took it back. A little bit of shock. Didn't know how to respond or celebrate, but just get the ball back to the ref and run back to the sideline. But it was awesome, man. It all goes back to the preparation.
There's Demetrius Knight just kind of going back over in his mind the touchdown, the pick 6 against Maryland. Then Wes and Chris and Elijah asked him, well, what was your celebration after you got into the end zone? Remember, he just said he didn't know what to do. So the question was, well, what did you do? Here's Cut 11, Edberg.
If you look at the video, when I get in the end zone, I was there. Their student section was talking a lot of smack to us in warm-ups, and I was probably an inch from throwing the ball into the crowd. You can see the motion, but then I drop it and then run off to the sideline because, man, I was about to get 15 yards on that one.
That was pretty good. It's like student sections talking a ton of junk. You get the interception return, you take it to the house, you're running right at the student section, and you're thinking, I got your touchdown right here. You want to throw it, but then you realize it's a 15-yard penalty. So you just drop it. So Demetrius Knight, that was good. That was good. Knight, I'm gonna get this cut in real quick, Ed. Be set, be ready. Demetrius Knight also talked about things that he has observed so far in his short time as a Gamecock. We're going to get to Cut 4 coming up here, Ed, so get ready. Obviously, Demetrius Knight has gone up against Lenore Sellers in practice, watching from the sideline during the spring game. Here's Demetrius Knight's thoughts on who feels like will be the Gamecock starting quarterback, Lenore Sellers.
In the first scrimmage, he proved that he's a threat with the ball when he decides to pull it down and tuck it and run. And I believe that levels this offense to things that we couldn't do last year. So I believe that it's going to be very special with the things they can unlock, per se, with him now.
Yeah, basically the legs, the element of the quarterback can take off and run. Last year, Spencer Rattler could escape. Spencer Rattler, could make something out of nothing at times with his legs, but Spencer Rattler wasn't a quarterback that was a dual threat guy. He was a drop back passer, and he could spin it all over the field, but he wasn't a guy that was going to do a lot of damage with his legs. He could move, he could get out of the pocket, he could escape, he could, pick up positive yards, but you weren't scared that Spencer Rattler was going to pull it down, take off, break a couple of guys' ankles, and go to the house. That just wasn't the plan with Rattler, and that's okay because obviously Spencer Rattler had phenomenal arm talent. So just the difference of Lenore Sellers, Lenore Sellers has arm talent as well, maybe not Rattler level arm talent, Lennar Sellers can also do things with his legs. It'll open up the RPO game. So Demetrius Knight's just saying all of a sudden this kind of brings a different element to this offense that it did not have. And we'll get some more Demetrius Knight in before we get out of here at 3 o'clock as well, as we're doing football, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. All right, so NFL now, the draft is over. We're seeing some players now signed that haven't been signed. There was a glut of wide receivers on the market, some with names you've heard of, who hadn't inked up deals yet. Odell Beckham Jr. last year, he showed when healthy in Baltimore that he still could be a productive receiver. Maybe not in the prime before the injuries, Odell Beckham Jr., but Odell Beckham Jr. showed that, hey, if I'm on the field healthy, I can still do stuff. So now Odell Beckham Jr. has inked a deal with the Miami Dolphins. 1 year, $3 million. Incentives could push it up over $8 million. And really, just let's be honest, this is the best deal Odell Beckham Jr. could get at this point in his career. 31 years old. Like I said, he still showed he had some tread on the tires last year in Baltimore. He's not going to be the, throw me the ball 100 times in a season and I'll make a ton of plays, Odell Beckham Jr. But he's still a guy that, used correctly, if he can stay healthy, can be productive. And in that offense, with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle doing the heavy lifting, Odell Beckham Jr. can carve himself a niche there. He doesn't have to be a go-to guy. He can be used the way he needs to be used right now in this point in his career. If he slots in, let's just say he slots in at number 3 behind Hill and Waddle, that's pretty good if old OBJ's healthy and on the field. So Odell Beckham Jr. Signing a 1-year deal, $3 million, could get over $8 million in guarantees if he does stay healthy with the Miami Dolphins. And the Buffalo Bills need wide receivers. But of course, the Bills do have a culture. There's a winning culture in Buffalo. There just is. And people can roll their eyes about culture, but culture matters, and there's a winning culture in Buffalo. Maybe that's why they stayed away from Odell Beckham Jr., because maybe they're just afraid he doesn't fit what they're doing. Now, Odell Beckham Jr. was just fine in Baltimore last year. Look how good the Ravens were last year, made the AFC Championship game. Odell Beckham Jr. hung in with the Rams. They won a Super Bowl. Matter of fact, old Odell Beckham Jr. was having a pretty good Super Bowl when he got hurt a couple of years ago. So I think the idea that Odell Beckham Jr. at this point in his career is a problem in your locker room or a problem to your culture, I think that's overblown. But the Bills need wide receivers. You would think you would talk to Odell Beckham Jr. before you talk to Chase Claypool. And maybe Buffalo did, and they just couldn't get it worked out. Maybe Miami offered more. I don't know. Well, the Bills added Chase Claypool. Now, again, maybe getting Chase Claypool in a better spot than the Chicago Bears might help Chase Claypool show more of the receiver that he was in Pittsburgh than who he's been since he's left Pittsburgh. So we'll see. But Chase Claypool was he was the dictionary definition of large catch radius guy, jump ball guy, red zone guy, end zone guy. Just a big dude at 6'4", almost 240. You could throw it up, he'd go up and get it. And then the Bears, for some reason, decided they were going to give up a second-round pick for Chase Claypool, which I never understood because, Chase Claypool did some good things in Pittsburgh, but he kind of looked like a 1-2 trick pony type of guy, not a complete receiver. But anyway, Claypool signs in Buffalo. The Bills now at wide receiver, they have Keon Coleman, who they drafted 33rd overall. They picked up Claypool. They got some other pieces, but obviously they lost Stephon Diggs. They traded Diggs, and they lost Gabe Davis in free agency. Buffalo, the wide receiver room does not look very daunting in Buffalo if you're an opposing secondary. And again, if you're thinking, that's all right, man. Our boy Josh Allen will make everybody better. Slow your roll. That remains to be seen if Josh Allen can lift an entire receiving corps or key members of a receiving corps. We know that Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but it's a different thing to make receivers better as a quarterback. Very few can do that. We're going to see if Josh Allen can, because right now the Buffalo Bill receiving group is nothing special. All right, football in the 1 o'clock hour here on the Game. And you can check us out on Game TV. Shepherd's Glass sponsors it. We appreciate it. Michael from Integrated Media was here a little while ago changing out the cables because, again, we're radio people. We can't do anything but do radio. We're very limited in life. So Michael from Integrated Media came and helped us out there with that. Our Game TV is powered by Integrated Media, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. You go to YouTube. All you got to do is search at the Game TV radio, and boom, you find us. And look, I'm not going to sit here. We don't have Steven Spielberg directing and producing things. It's just all of us yahoos together are just making Game TV work. So sometimes you can click on it, and our camera angle's upside down, or we're picking our nose, or God knows what. It is. What do you think? The least professional crew ever doing a video stream. But please feel free to check us out and subscribe and enjoy it. The Game TV. Powered by Integrated Media and sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. We'll come back. Our Firehouse Sub text of the hour at 803-404-6100 is next. It's a halftime show with Terry Ford and Ed Bird, and Austin's here learning how to do stuff. Again, Austin, watch me and do the opposite. Everything will be fine. We're cooking till 3 on the halftime show on the Game. Time for our Firehouse Subtext of the hour at 803-404-6100 here on the halftime show. Terry Ford and Ed Bird hanging around, sliding the pots and hitting the buttons and doing all the things that keeps us on the air. We roll up until 3, and then Elijah will take back over for the postgame show here on the game. All right, Firehouse Subtext of the hour. We talked about the Cowboys with Jason Lockenfora, our NFL insider, I don't know, 40, 45 minutes ago. Texter, I'm so tired of the Cowboys being a punchline. When I grew up, they were the model franchise in the NFL. Now they just become a joke under Jerry Jones. I don't want him to sell the team. He's a great businessman, but I just wish Jerry Jones, the owner, would fire Jerry Jones, the GM. Yeah, I get you. That's a sad part of Jerry Jones. Is as a businessman, the guy's a genius, right? I mean, he just is. He prints money. He has great ideas. His business acumen is ridiculous. But that ego that makes him good in business makes him think he can also be a GM and a head coach and the head of player personnel and run the draft. And he just can't. Now, his son, Steven, has gotten a little bit more control of some of the personnel side of stuff and has whispered in his dad's ear at times. Remember, people forget something. Jerry Jones wanted to draft Johnny Manziel. And his son said, Dad, come here a minute. We're not drafting Johnny Manziel. But, son, he's going to sell a lot of Cowboy jerseys and a lot of autographs and Johnny football. No, we're going to draft an offensive lineman named Zach Martin. Well, he ain't going to sell a lot. He ain't going to sell a lot of uniforms. Nobody cares about an offensive lineman's autograph. But it's the better pick, Dad. And this guy could be really good. And, of course, Zach Martin's going to go in the Hall of Fame, and Johnny Manziel is, I don't know where Johnny Manziel is right now. Maybe we should Google Johnny Manziel and see where he is. But, yeah, look, Jerry, I'm not going to say Jerry doesn't care about winning, but Jerry cares more about headlines. And the Cowboys is a brand than the Cowboys about a football team. As a football team, I've always said, if you gave Jerry Jones the choice of being the lead story on every TV station in America or win a Super Bowl, Jerry'd have to go like this. Well, let me think about that a minute. Because that's Jerry. Like this year's team. And Jason and I were kidding. Jerry's all in. No, you're not. You're not all in because you have to pay your players. You have a lot of, to your credit, you've been successful enough in the draft where now you have to pay a Micah Parsons or a CeeDee Lamb. And you got to figure out what you're going to do with this constant contract dance with Dak Prescott. Because you're in quarterback purgatory with Dak Prescott. Because is Dak Prescott a franchise quarterback? Yes. Does it look like Dak Prescott can be a quarterback for you to win a championship? No. So you're kind of in that quarterback purgatory. But the Cowboys have in-house decisions to make on the current roster regarding players they have to pay. They can't go throwing money at free agents because they're going to have to spend cap dollars re-upping a Micah Parsons, re-upping a CeeDee Lamb. And then again, figuring out the Dak Prescott contract dilemma that they're going to be in. But Jerry just won't say it. It's like, bro, just say it. We're all in. Well, you're not, because you're all in is paying your own guys. Just tell the truth. I know that's tough sometimes for you, Jar. But just, pucker your lips and throw out some truth. I get it. You're a very successful used car salesman, man. But every now and then you got to turn around and just, be for real. And for real this year is the Cowboys, they can't be all in because of their caps. Last year they were all in. That was all in last year. This year they can't be all in because of the cap situation that is coming. Just can't. Appreciate the text like always, 803-404-6100. Thank you very much for dropping that in for us. Obviously, we got baseball coming up tonight. We said this before. It's a big series because, yes, Missouri's terrible. We get a 93 in RPI, second worst record in the SEC, only behind Auburn. Offense is the worst in the SEC. They're starting a pitcher tonight with a 7-run ERA. They've lost 7 of their last 9 SEC games. you got to win the series. Because after that, you get 2 top 10 RPI squads in Tennessee and Georgia. You got to win the series. No ifs, ands, or buts. It'd be good to start tonight, get a good 3 or 4 spot in the first inning off a pitcher with a 7-run ERA in Logan Lunsford, I'm sorry. And then make your weekend to where you just have to split. Then you walk away from Mizzou winning the series, and then you got to deal with Tennessee and Georgia, or Georgia and Tennessee if you want to get it correct in the order. So it's a series you have to win. Now, you need to win. Not have to, because it's not the end of the world if you don't, but you really need to win if you want to keep your positive momentum going with where you're trying to get to, and that's putting yourself in the best possible position, not only to host, but maybe a regional, but maybe even to host a super. I'm just saying. All right, we'll come back. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. We'll check out the headlines of the day. Get you a little more Demetrius Knight. A little bit from his hour with us yesterday on the Garner Trust Hour. What we're going to do, we're going to kind of zero in on Demetrius Knight. How fast does he run? What's his miles per hour? Going to get into that. And also some other stuff from the on-the-field situation in South Carolina. Halftime show, our final hour. Terry Ford, Ed Bird, Austin's here. Doesn't Austin start hitting some buttons here in a little bit, Ed? What the heck? We've been here almost 6 hours. I'm getting loopy. Just, what the heck? It's a Friday. We got 4 people off. What the heck? One way to learn, Austin. Just start hitting buttons, baby. See where it ends up. Hey, I won't tell the guy in charge. Don't worry about it. All right, what's trending at 2? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. We will, Ed Bird, because we're going to go. I've decided we'll get a piece of sound in here, and then we'll let Austin hit some buttons and have some fun. All right, very interesting story in the world of baseball I want to get to, college baseball. There's a little story about a Georgia pitcher in a game against Texas A&M, and there's some cheating involved. First of all, Ed Bird, let's hit the highlight of what happened between Georgia and Texas A&M, and then we'll get to the cheating part.
5 on a fastball, and he struck out Caden Sorrell. And that is a strike. He got him looking. But Georgia, they're looking for insurance in the top of 9 if they keep the lead here, and they will. Maracna strikes out 3 in a row. He went upstairs and struck him out, and Maracna has struck out 4 in a row. Check swing, and he may have went around. He did. Struck him out. A pitch away from ending this one in dominating fashion.
Yeah, that's an understatement, man. He is absolutely electric right now on the mound. Appel just trying to stay alive, extend this game.
Maracna closes it out. He strikes out 6 in a row to end the game. And the Bulldogs will salvage a game in the series. Maracna stays electric after closing this one out in celebration with his team.
All right, Christian Maracna was dominant in a victory over Texas A&M. Aggies won the series, but Georgia got the getaway game, so to speak. Christian Maracna struck out the final 6 hitters. Christian Maracna on the season has been dominant in general. If you look at his numbers, just dominant. His strikeout to innings pitched is like off the charts. 57 strikeouts in 36 innings and 13 appearances. Now, here's where the story kind of goes another way. Social media videos of Christian Maracna, his activity in the bullpen, and during his performance on the mound against top-ranked Texas A&M has led Aggies coach Jim Schlossnagle to suspect the pitcher was putting a foreign substance on the ball in violation of the rules. Schlossnagle said, "It certainly appears that way," in a text to the AP. "It's part of the game. Wish we would have caught it." He declined further comment. Now, a 30-second video of Maracna in the bullpen was posted by Barstool Texas A&M, showed Maracna appearing to work on his glove in a corner. He reached for something near or behind a post, but otherwise the view was largely blocked. Another video taken from the SEC Network telecast showed Maracna touching his thumb area of his glove with his right fingers between pitches against A&M. Georgia declined comment. Maracna is not made available. SEC declined comment. According to the NCAA rules, players cannot apply a foreign substance or moisture to the ball or to the pitching hand or fingers or do anything to deface the ball. Use of a foreign substance, typically something sticky that improves grip, can create higher spin rates that increase the ball's movement. A violation results in ejection. So basically, if that's what Maracna was doing, he got away with it because he's not getting thrown out of the game. Could there be some type of suspension if everybody finds out that's what Maracna has been doing? Because, again, Maracna, you look at the strikeout to innings pitch numbers, they've been dominant. But, again, baseball, this is what gets me about baseball. And I love baseball. Certain rules, we go crazy when somebody breaks. And certain rules, we go, hey, it's just gamesmanship. It's baseball, being baseball. But to me, there is nothing worse in baseball. If you want to go down the cheating road, there's nothing worse in baseball than doctoring the ball. Because everything in baseball starts with what? The pitch. And if you're doctoring a ball to make it dodge and dart and move and go all over the place, sink and swim and, do loops and all this other mess, that's where everything starts. So think about what you're doing to the game if you're doctoring a ball to make it move illegally. That's gigantic in my mind. More than corking a bat, more than beating trash can lids on the side of a dugout, more than, hey, give me the cream or the clear. Anybody got any PEDs? Doctoring a baseball is the worst form of cheating to me because you are really honestly cheating the game because you start the entire action of the game by throwing a doctored baseball. We think that's kind of funny. We don't really get all upset over doctoring baseballs. But hey, you beat a trash can lid to get a sign, all hell breaks loose. That's cute. Or you can steal a sign by stealing a sign in the game because that's gamesmanship. But if you use technology, which the whole world's using to steal a sign, now you've gone over the line. Really? There is no line. You don't have a line. Baseball picks and chooses arbitrarily what cheating they're okay with and what cheating that they're not okay with. But again, you see it here. Maragna struck out 6 straight A&M Aggies. And if he's doctoring the ball, you got no shot. You just don't. That thing's moving all over the place. So Maragna appears like he got away with it in game. We'll see if there's more evidence. We'll see where it goes. And we'll see if there's any kind of suspension coming down if it is proven that Maragna was doctoring the ball. We'll see, though. But a very interesting story coming from the Georgia-Texas A&M game. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry, as we get you the headlines of the day. Obviously, the big headline here will be South Carolina, Missouri. That's tonight, 6:45. Our pregame coverage starts 7 o'clock first pitch from Columbia, Missouri. The pitching matchups for the weekend, Roman Kimball will take the ball tonight as the opener. Again, Kimball hasn't been going deep in games. He's just not built up for it yet at this point. Ty Good has been coming in and throwing well in the back end of Roman Kimball's starts. Logan Lunsford will take the ball for Missouri. 1-4, 7.04 ERA. Eli Jones will go Saturday. 3.91 ERA. A little bit less than a strikeout an inning for Eli Jones. Missouri counters with Javen Pimnatal, their best starter, 3.64 ERA, striking about a hitter an inning. And then both teams are TBA on Sunday, but you would figure South Carolina will roll out Dylan Eskew, who's been really good the last 2 weekends. So that's what's happening tonight. We've gone over this, that, South Carolina, this is one of those, it's in your best interest to win the series. You got to win 2 out of 3. You got to keep your momentum going. You got to keep building your resume for the postseason. And Missouri's a bad baseball team. But they're not going to roll over and die. They've lost 7 of their last 9 SEC games, but 4 of those 7 losses are by 1 run. So everything gets rolling tonight, 6:45. Weather permitting. Again, the weather, we'll see. Over 50% chance of rain for every game in Columbia, Missouri. So, again, we'll see where all that goes. What's trending at 2 here on the game? A lot of declining fifth-year options for NFL players. And these are guys you've heard of. First-round picks, Najee Harris for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They declined his fifth-year option. Smart move by the Steelers. It just is. Najee Harris would have been set to make, I believe, almost $7 million, $6.7 million, yep. And if you're the Steelers, you don't want to pay Najee Harris almost $7 million. Najee, look, they've worked the heck out of Najee Harris. He's had 834 carries in 3 years. He's averaging probably 280, 275, 270, 275. That's the number of carries he's averaging a season. He's gained 1,000 yards all 3 years in the NFL, but his average yards per carry is below average. And then there's also some analytic deep dive stats where Najee Harris is below average. You just don't want to pay him almost $7 million on your cap. Now, Harris can catch the football, but his receptions have gone down every year as well as he's been using less and less in the pass game. Went from 74 catches his rookie year to 29. So he's a player trending in the wrong direction, is what I'm saying. So the Steelers don't pay Najee Harris. They decline, I should say, his fifth-year option, which was a smart move, which means this upcoming season, Harris's fourth year, most likely will be his last year in Pittsburgh unless some things change. And to the shock of no one department, and this is sad, because the guy has so much ability and potential, the Chiefs declined to exercise the fifth-year option on Kadarius Toney, wide receiver, first-round pick of the Giants, was traded to the Chiefs. And the thought was, when Toney got traded to Kansas City, was this: oh my God, a player with this much ability and skill and this high of a ceiling is going to be handed to the offensive genius that is Andy Reid and to a future Hall of Fame quarterback that is Patrick Mahomes. This is going to pop, baby. All the issues with Toney, gone. He'll get it straightened out in Kansas City. Oops. Toney hasn't. It's just, again, you get teased with the ability every now and then. And every now and then he makes a play. But it's never anything consistent. Just never consistent. And, you know, I wouldn't be popping his fifth-year option either. Brett Veach, the GM, said, I don't think we ever stop believing in Toney. I think people around the building like him, it's an injury bug. Hopefully he gets some luck on his side. He can stay healthy, be the player that he was at Florida and the player that we've seen in spurts here. Just hoping that a good offseason and a little luck on his side and he can stay healthy and then he can produce. He's one of those guys. It feels like this could change. Doesn't feel like it's going to, but it could change. But right now, he feels like one of those guys where it's one of these, ready? Oh, man, what a shame. He's going to be that guy. You start off the sentence when you talk about him, oh, man, what a shame. Because Toney has just, the ceiling of talent is unreal. But the production, 13 games, 27 catches, 169 yards. That doesn't get your contract exercised. All right, what's trending at 2 here on the game, sponsored by Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry. Played this earlier from Charles Barkley on during the extra point. I want to re-rack what Charles Barkley said about the media that covers the NBA. And why am I re-racking it? Because someone Charles Barkley brought up in his riff, his rant, just landed in the news, in breaking news. That's coming up next. Halftime show, what's trending at 2, Terry Ford. Austin, you ready, man? We're going to hit the button, babe. Here we go. What's trending at 2? Terry Ford, Ed Bird, and Austin taking you till 3 on the game. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry. We'll get another Demetrius Night cut or two in here. We've been kind of weaving those through the day. Demetrius was on the Garner Trust Hour yesterday, and we just been kind of racking back up some of the stuff he's talked about on the show with Wes and Chris and Elijah. But first, Charles Barkley, a couple nights ago, had enough of the NBA media, basically the folks who cover the NBA. And Charles decided to scorch some earth and drop some knowledge, which for the most part I totally agree with, about the folks that cover the NBA. Here's Charles Barkley on TNT.
Part of our job, we watch all the games and we watch all the talk shows. You know, a lot of these people on television, they're cowards because they want the players to like them. They don't want to do their job, which is to tell the truth. Anybody who thinks the reason the Lakers suck is because of Darvin Ham or the reason the Suns suck is because of Frank Vogel, you don't know what you're talking about. Frank Vogel is a hell of a coach. Darvin Ham is a hell of a coach trying to get his career started. But for all you punks, idiots, and jackasses on other networks who want to be media and who want all the players to like y'all, do your damn job. The Lakers suck and the Suns suck because of the players. Has nothing to do with the coaches. I feel better now.
Here, I can tell. Looks like you like getting that off your chest.
I did. I hate it, man. You sit there like Darvin Ham needs to get fired. Frank Vogel needs to get fired. Who put them teams together? Them trash-ass teams put together need to get fired. Them guys, they didn't just all of a sudden suck as coaches. People who put them teams together they start packing up their stuff.
Amen. Woo! Go get him, Chuck. No doubt. No doubt. And with Barkley, and we're going to get to what Chuck said in a minute, but it's true. It's a players-driven league. And NBA superstars, not all of them, but a lot of the level 1 NBA players are flat-out divas. They can get coaches hired and fired. Because, again, coach, that dude's more replaceable than the superstar I have, which I get it. It's true. You win with players. Greg Popovich in San Antonio was a genius for years and years and years and years and years. He had Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker, and Kawhi Leonard for a period of time. You can look like a genius when you got dudes like that. Here lately, Greg Popovich, not so geniusy. Why? Hadn't had players. Now with Victor Wembanyama, hopefully he's going to start back on the road to having players. And then all of a sudden, Greg Popovich will be a genius again. Phil Jackson was a genius. Won tons of rings. Helps to have Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Dennis Rodman, Tony Kukoc. Kind of helps. Pau Gasol. You're a genius when you got those dudes. What made Phil Jackson a genius, he knew what teams to coach. And Phil was really good with the psychological part of dealing and motivating superstars. But when you got players, you're a much better coach than when you don't have players. I always love when a coach, and Phil Jackson's one of the greatest examples. Of course he won titles. Look at all those players he had. Duh. You don't win titles. Name me a team that won a title with crappy players because the coach was so good. I'm waiting. Exactly. So, yes, coaches need players. And for the most part, it's GMs who draft, trade, acquire, sign players to give to said coach. Sometimes the coach is the GM or the coach is above the GM in the pecking order. Like Greg Popovich runs the show in San Antonio. But guys like, Charles Barkley brought up Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel won a championship in the bubble with the Lakers. Championship winning coach, Frank Vogel. A couple years later, Frank Vogel's gone. All of a sudden, can't coach anymore. Or not the right fit for this team all of a sudden. Okay. Well, he was the right fit when LeBron and AD and that bubble crew won the title, and now he's not the right fit even though it's still LeBron and AD. Okay. Whoo, makes sense. Not. And Darvin Ham, he's 2 years in. The Lakers, even though they got swept by the Nuggets, they led at halftime of every game. Nuggets are a better team on paper. They just are. Heck, the Lakers got to the Western Conference Finals last year, even though they had two dudes and a bunch of role players who sometimes showed up and sometimes didn't. That's not the formula to build a championship team, but you're going to blame the coach. Rob Pelinka is the GM with the Lakers, and the only thing he's done is helped wine and dine LeBron James and help get Anthony Davis. But Rob Pelinka as a GM is a miserable failure. He doesn't understand how to build a team. He's a superstar hunter. But you're going to fire the coach. Because when you fire the coach as the GM, you deflect the blame off of you. It's perfect. In Phoenix, they got a meddling owner and Isaiah Thomas in his ear, who doesn't know what the heck he's doing either, and they're getting in the way of the basketball operation. So all of a sudden, Frank Vogel's a bad coach again. And the reason I bring all this up, because Charles is right, and then you got to look at players. Again, it's a superstar-driven / diva league. Well, I bring all this up because the LA Lakers, breaking news, just fired Darvin Ham. And I love in the article from Dave McMenamin of ESPN and some other staff folks, the Lakers now will open a job search in hopes of finding the right person to maximize what figures to be the final chapter of LeBron James' storied career. How about getting the right players to maximize the end of LeBron's career? Call me crazy. What are you going to do, ask Phil to come back? You're going to knock on the door there at the old the ranch in Montana? Hey, Phil, we'll give it a go again? The Lakers are... It's not Darvin Ham. It really isn't. But Darvin Ham will take the fall because that's what you do as a GM. You throw enough bodies in front of you until finally somebody looks up and... What's the one constant here? Oh, you. Jeannie Buss likes the GM, Pelinka, and, again, so... The Lakers, yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. So Lakers can, Darvin Ham, 2 years in, 2 years are left on the deal, and they'll go coach hunting to find the guy that will unlock the greatness of D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves and the rest of the supporting cast with the Lakers, or whoever the next wave of supporting cast is with the Lakers, picked by the GM, Rob Pelinka, whose claim to fame is he looks like Rob Lowe. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. If you buy any Gamecock merch from Gamecock Traditions, a portion of that will go to the Garnet Trust, as Gamecock Traditions has now become the official, or what's the best way to put it, merchandising partner with the Garnet Trust. All right, we'll come back. Today is May 3rd. It's the greatest day in the history of the world. Sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and that is next on the Halftime Show with Terry Ford on the Game. Before we get to the greatest day in the history of the world, my buddy Liz McMillan from over at South Carolina just sent me a text. The weather actually looks good for tonight in Columbia, Missouri. Derek just confirmed everything looks great, so hopefully weather holds and we get baseball in tonight in Columbia, Missouri, as South Carolina and Missouri will go at it. 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch. So thank you, Liz. I want to make her my permanent meteorologist. Thank you very much. So we're hoping the weather holds and we get 3 in this weekend and everything will be fine tonight. Weather looking good according to Liz and Derek Scott. So baseball tonight again, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch. South Carolina and Missouri. Roman Kimball on the mound for the Gamecocks as the opener/starter. Logan Lunsford for Missouri. All right, greatest day in the history of the world, sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. On this day last year, Shohei Ohtani joins Babe Ruth as the only pitcher to strike out 500 batters and hit over 100 career home runs. It's just a crazy stat. I know we've kind of forgotten about Ohtani because of, his interpreter and all that mess. And Ohtani's not pitching this year with the Dodgers. He's just hitting. But the two-way weapon that Shohei Ohtani has been and how the Angels had wasted it is unbelievable. The Angels should be, that franchise should be banned from Major League Baseball. You've had Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, and you did nothing with it. The most special, skilled player in 100 years of baseball, 80 years of baseball, and the best all-around player in baseball. That's what you had. You had a guy that could hit in the middle of your order and be your ace pitcher, and the other guy was a 15-tool talent. And you did nothing with it. That is criminal. Just saying. So Shohei Ohtani sets that mark in 2023, a year ago. 2018 Atlanta Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan becomes the NFL's first $30 million per season player, agreeing to a $150 million contract extension. And we were talking about this a little bit with Jason Lockenfora, our NFL insider, last hour about Matt Ryan. This was the extension Jason was talking about that the Falcons probably shouldn't have given Matt Ryan. All right, let's look at the context. Ryan, obviously, it was early May of 2018, coming off a 2017 season where Matt Ryan didn't have the best of year. He was okay, but nothing special. But the year before is when Ryan was the MVP, led the league in passer rating, and a bunch of other statistical marks. Remember, Falcons got to a Super Bowl. Matt Ryan didn't call the plays, and Matt Ryan didn't play defense. And the Falcons went with a 28-3 lead. But 2017, Ryan's performance dipped. But the Falcons, because you're roughly a season removed from an MVP year from your franchise quarterback, you do the extension. And to Matt Ryan's credit, he arguably had the second best year of his career in 2018. But after that, he was okay. Never got close to what he did in 2018 or 16. So you can say, looking at the totality of the deal and the guaranteed money that Matt Ryan did get, he probably didn't, performance-wise, live up to the extension. But on this day in 2018, Matt Ryan did sign that deal with the Falcons. Couple more. There's a lot of Kentucky Derby stuff. Big Brown won in 2008, which was a cool story. It was just his third career start. So that was fun. A bunch of other Kentucky Derby winners on this day. The race is tomorrow, and no one cares. We talked about this yesterday, the day before with Tyler. In the horse racing community, it's still iconic, right? But in the casual sports fans world, it's if I'm home and flipping around, oh wow, Kentucky Derby, let me see who wins. But it's not what it used to be. So 2007, the Golden State Warriors became the first 8th seed to capture a best-of-7 playoff series against a 1 seed by beating the Dallas Mavericks in 6. Everybody looked at the Mavericks as chokers, and they had a real stigma on them until they upset the Miami Heat and won the championship a few years later. And finally, let's get a draft one in, because the NFL draft also has a lot of history on this day. 1979, the Buffalo Bills picked Tom Cousineau, linebacker from Ohio State, the first pick overall. You're like, who? Exactly. Heck of a linebacker at Ohio State in college, did nothing in the NFL. A huge bust was Tom Cousineau. This day in 1952, way back in the days, and we're done. CBS, the first network to televise the Kentucky Derby. Hill Gale won by 2 lengths over Subfleet this day in 1952. Finally, 1936, some dude named Joe DiMaggio makes his major league debut, and by the way, DiMaggio got 3 hits. So Joe DiMaggio debuted on this day in 1936. I remember as a story, when I first heard DiMaggio, he go to Old Timers Day at Yankee Stadium. And basically, he told them he wanted to be introduced as the greatest living ball player. And the rumor was if he wasn't introduced as the greatest living ball player, he wouldn't show up. Joe did love himself some Joe. And he was a phenomenal player. And sold a ton of Mr. Coffees as well. All right, it's the greatest day in the history of the world, sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Terry Ford, Ed Bird, halftime show. As we roll toward our conclusion, let's get a couple more Demetrius Knight cuts in here, Ed Bird. Demetrius, obviously, on the Garnet Trust Hour yesterday, we've been kind of picking through his time with us yesterday and just trying to, in case you missed it, just giving you some different audio through the show today with Demetrius. Demetrius Knight has been clocked at almost 22 miles an hour with that GPS system that all these teams use now. Cut 15, Ed Bird. Here's Demetrius Knight on running 21 miles an hour in practice.
I can definitely confirm it was a 21.
21.
I'm very, very close to the 22. Once I hit that, I will be ready for retirement. But until then, I'm gonna keep trying. But the speed from the quarterback position, it helps me out a little bit every now and then. But it does help me play fast. So.
He's a big dude, carting 245, run almost 22 miles an hour. It's a scary combination. And, in the spring game, early in the spring game, he made some tackles and made some plays. And like I said before, you can just see the athleticism and the potential and ceiling of this linebacker room it's so high this year compared to the previous years. And again, not being mean to others who have played there in the last couple of seasons, but just the depth of guys who could really make a difference. The possibilities are really, really nice in that linebacker room. Also with Demetrius Knight, here are his thoughts on the spring game, how the team got better. Let's go cut 13, Ed Bird. Here's Demetrius Knight talking about how South Carolina got better during the spring game.
I remember watching something the other day that my wife showed me that the spring game, I feel like we got better because we got to tackle guys to the ground. Other guys, they whiz by, and that could be because of injuries they've had through spring and coaches being, smart that way, trying to protect their guys for the season. But I believe we got to step on everybody who we play this year by being able to add that level to the game, and that shows you the competition we have.
Look, it's a weird balance now because you get better at football by playing football. You get better at tackling by tackling people. But you also don't want your players getting hurt in spring games or spring practices, summer camps or in the NFL preseason games or joint practices. So it's really a delicate dance. Because you don't want to be that coach who has to get up at that press conference, for example, in the spring, and talk about how one of your most important players blew a knee and he's out for the year. Because you're playing football, you're tackling. But, one of the things we talk about a lot when we watch football games is tackling is not as good as it used to be because guys don't get to practice it like they used to. Any level of football, it's just not as good. You know, there's a combination of reasons for that, but the number one reason is guys don't get to practice tackling enough. They just don't. So it's very delicate balance. You have to come through practicing football by playing football, practicing tackling by tackling people, but not going overboard to where your guys get hurt. We'll try to get one more Demetrius Knight cut in our final segment before we get out of here. Please go to 1075thegame.com, register for the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. We've added $25 a game to this pot. It is now at $1,100. It's very simple. You go to our website, again, 1075 The Game. You look at the little media roll there or media reel where everything's flipping. Once a little flippy thingy lands on the Grand Slam giveaway, click on it, fill out the little form, hit submit, and you're in. If a Gamecock player does hit a Grand Slam this weekend, Monday morning at 7:30, we would draw a winner, and then you would get yourself $1,100. But you got to register to be a winner. Again, go to 1075thegame.com and click on the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. We'll get back. Firehouse Sub text the hour and try to throw another Demetrius Knight cut as well. Terry Ford, Ed Bird, the last segment of our 6-hour extravaganza, Ed Bird. That's next here on The Game. Time for our Firehouse subtext of the hour at 803-404-6100. Couple of quick ones about South Carolina baseball. First, unidentified texter. I was not believing in this team all year long, but the last week has made me finally start to turn around and change my tune. They need to keep the momentum going in Como. Yeah, I see where you're going because we've talked about this all year. You look at the metrics, high in the RPI, one of the toughest strength of schedules in the country, second toughest schedule in the SEC. And you see where the numbers love this team, but your eyes say, well, they were just good enough to be close, but they weren't getting over the hump, and they were losing series against really good teams. I mean, you look at the RPI, the Warren Nolan RPI. South Carolina has played the top 4 teams in the RPI. Competed but lost 2 out of 3 to A&M. Won 2 out of 3 over Kentucky. Competed but lost 2 out of 3 to Arkansas. Lost 2 one-run games to Clemson, had the other washed out. Right there in the neighborhood in all these series, just coming up a bit short against Arkansas, Clemson, and A&M, but beating Kentucky. But you get the win over Kentucky, taking 2 out of 3 last weekend. You pulverize East Tennessee State, number 50? They're in the 50s in the RPI. So now you think, okay, now you're starting to get over the hump. Now I'm starting to get excited or starting to feel more excited or more confident. So I get where you're going, texter. I do. Another text, 803-404-6100, our Firehouse subtext of the hour about Carolina baseball. I hear what you're saying about tonight. Their starting pitcher has a 7-run ERA. I'm just scared of the reverse lock. If you're not familiar with the reverse lock, it's like it's too good to be true, so it's too good to be true. Missouri starting a pitcher with a 7-run ERA tonight. South Carolina's offense has been on fire the last week. You should score 35 runs in the first inning against this guy. The reverse lock is he shuts you down. He throws 5 shutout innings and you get like 2 hits. That's reverse lock. So thank you for the text, both of them on the Firehouse subtext of the hour here on the halftime show. All right, Elijah put up a great poll question for today on our Twitter X account at 1075 The Game. And so far, plenty of time to go. About 21 hours. We already have over 100 votes. Poll question of the day. Who would you vote as the most hateable opposing SEC head coach on the Gamecocks' upcoming schedule? Would it be Brian Kelly, Mark Stoops, Lane Kiffin, Eli Drinkwitz? To the surprise of no one. To the surprise of no one. Eli Drinkwitz, 54%. Lane Kiffin second at 22, Mark Stoops third at 13, Brian Kelly fourth at 10. Not surprised. Eli Drinkwitz has become the most hateable coach, it feels like, here. So, there you go. Eli Drinkwitz. And the thing about Drinkwitz, and you know, because Elijah and Preston were talking about this this morning, one of the problems with Drinkwitz is that so far South Carolina can't beat him. Whether it's at Appalachian State or Missouri, Gamecocks are over against Drinkwitz. So not only is he annoying in some of the things he says, we stand on business, Josh, but he kind of comes off as he's arrogant, smarter than you guy, comes off like kind of nerdy, and then you can't beat him. And that's what really drives you nuts. All those other things you'd blow off if you were beating him. So that makes it even worse. Very interesting. Very interesting little exercise there. And you can keep voting. You just go to 1075 The Game's Twitter X poll, and you can drop a vote there. One other thing, breaking news in the world of sports, in case you missed it, Darvin Ham out as head coach of the Lakers. Who knows the next victim to be brought in to get the blame when things don't work out in L.A. So that's the breaking news nationally. And again, baseball tonight. Liz McMillan, thank you. gave me a little heads up on the weather in Columbia, Missouri. I just looked at it. It went from chance of rain for the next 3 days, over 50%, chance of rain now under 20%. Tonight, it's pretty much gone. I'm looking at it right now. Let me get to the weather here. I just lost it on my phone app. Chance of rain is around 1% up until 7. Again, different time zone, but it's 50. It doesn't go as high as 15% all night. Tomorrow, it's a little higher early, 20s, 30% chance of rain. Gets up to 47% chance of rain at 3:30 Central Time, but then starts to drop. And Sunday, the chance of rain is very low as well, about 15%. So we might get all 3 games in after all. How about that? All right, we are done. Finish history down the road. Fine job, Ed Bird. You're the man, my friend. Austin, good job. Wes, good deal. Post-game show with Elijah, Captain Dave. That's coming up next here on The Game. Have a good weekend. We'll see you.